There we go. All right, I think we're good. We'll just jump right in. Jumping right into episode 72. Dan, is there something you wanted to say to kick us off for this week?
I started the episode, Chocobo Central. It's live. Hooray!
That's right. I'm just glad you didn't say boobies. So that was a good.
But you did. But you did.
That was a trick.
Here.
Now you got to cut it out in the middle there.
That was a trick, like when your older brother says, like, "Hey, it's right under there," and he makes you go underwear, and he goes, "Ha, you said underwear." Yeah, that was.
And then he beats you.
And then he beats you up for saying something so stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, this is episode 72. I'm Tim here with Kyle and Dan. Both Derek and Jeff had plans tonight. I think they're on a date together. That's what we think.
That tracks.
Now, we do know that they're both musical. So it could be that they're just playing sweet, sweet music somewhere together.
I think that's adorable. I hope
which one's a little country, which one's a little rock and roll?
Well, I think we just heard Jeff's latest song, which has a little bit of pop to it. I wouldn't say it's got either. So maybe Derek's a little more rock. So they're pop rock. That's what they are.
Pop rock.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Popping and rocking.
So best wishes to those two guys. Way to be progressive. And we support you 100%.
So proud.
We're going to have a gay couple on our show. That's nice.
Yeah, it is very nice. So by the way, when we get back, when they join the show again and they pretend like it didn't happen and they deny it, just so everyone knows, it's a defense mechanism.
Right.
So just know that they are truly in love, regardless of what they say from now on. So
and this is why you show up to the podcast, guys.
And this is why you come to the podcast.
Although there is one way to tell if the date actually did happen and went well, is if they're holding their sore buttholes, because
Oh, why is that, Dan? Let's dig into that. What's that about?
Yeah, I'd love to do a deep dive on that, but first.
But me and my friend talked about Final Fantasy VII.
But for real, folks, go over to YouTube, check out not only this show, you can see our hilarious faces while we talk about video games each and every week. You can also see Dan's new show, Chocobo Central, that he launched. And we've also been chatting about some other little things we want to do on YouTube over time, especially if the channel grows. So if people like that content, and that's what they prefer, we'll always do the podcast, the audio version, but I'm up for adding more video content if that's what the people want. So
people like looking at people's faces for some reason. I don't know.
They do. I'm more of a listener, because I'm usually doing something while I listen to all my podcasts. Every once in a while, I kind of hear what they're saying. I'm like, oh, I want to see the video version of this. This sounded intense or whatever. Anyway, or if they all start laughing at something and no one knows, if you're listening, you have no idea what's going on. It's nice to see.
It's like that meme where it's like the kid standing next to the box, and it shows like a bunch of people talking or something. And it's like, oh, kind of, this is what it's like when I'm listening to a podcast, but I'm actually alone, or something along the lines of that. Like, you feel like you're there with friends, but you're really not. So
one of our most viewed episodes from Fathers of the Grind, my previous podcast with Derek, and then Dan joined that towards the second half of it. But when it's just Derek and I, and he was recording, and he had his boy at the time, it's actually all his kids were, and I forget which one it was. His youngest son, I think it was Eli, comes walking in after shower time, totally naked, like not even a little bit of clothes on, and so I was dying laughing because Derek's also scolding him in the process. So listening to a frustrated dad scold his kid who's standing there naked arguing with his dad, it was so funny. And it was funny to the point where I was like, okay, so first of all, I'm a dad. Like, seeing some obnoxious kid walk through the house naked after shower, that's nothing new to me. So that wasn't like, it didn't like change my life. So I just put on some black sensor boxes just so I wouldn't get arrested, because that was so funny. It was so funny. I had to still have, so I think that's still on the channel somewhere. You can see the sensor box.
I'm glad I had not joined the show yet, because I also didn't want to be in a database. So
I'm definitely in there somewhere. Who knows? At one point, that guy Chris from Hardline's gonna be like, "Hey, come on, sit down. Come here."
Hey, how's it going?
Over here?
I'm like, this is literally my house. I live here.
Not anymore.
What are you doing here, Chris?
How'd you get in?
Yeah, are you talking to my son? Okay. So let's talk about some headlines first. Got a lot of them to get through, and then we'll close out with some stuff we're playing. I got some thoughts. I think you guys are playing and watching stuff too, so we will get to that. But let's just jump right into some sales report data from the NPD. Of course, they put out their monthly data, which to me, if you look at it, it never feels complete. It always feels like we're getting a partial picture of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But it is always interesting. So even though it's not like, because some companies will give certain types of data, other companies will give you like units sold or units shipped or just digital or digital and physical combined. So take all this with a grain of salt. You'll have to go to the MPD website and download the reports for yourself if you're that into it. But the gist, and this is what everyone's reporting on right now, it kind of got a little bit of a wave of news the last 24 hours or so, is that the Xbox Series S and X combined surpassed everything in terms of just dollar sales, in terms of consoles, so Switch and PS5. That I don't know how that correlates to units sold. I mean, I know that their pricing structure is a little different because there's 2 units there, whereas Switch and PS5 just has a single. No, it doesn't. PS5 has 2.
PS5
So,
is 2.
Yeah, that's too.
so I don't know how this correlates. I really don't. I know that there's constraints on supply, so that could have a factor in it as well. But it sounds like they had a nice wave of supply and a bump of interest after their E3 showing. That's just what that's what it seems like. So it seems like in June they had a little bit of a boost there. So
Well deserved.
good for them. Yeah. And Switch, of course, still that top selling console. I think it has a combination to do of supply as well as just it's the most popular thing. It's like
I
it's like the
mean,
Wii.
I think like COVID hit, quarantine hit, and everybody in the world suddenly wanted to Switch, and I don't think that hunger has stopped since.
Well,
It's just,
that and Animal Crossing, right?
Well, yeah. That is true. Everyone, that was a huge event that everyone wanted to be a part of, or a lot of people did.
I think Ratchet and Clank was at the top of the list for. I think it was just physical sales. I might have looked at the digital sale thing instead, but Ratchet and Clank was up there. But it's funny as you glance, and Mario's the new golf game, Super Rush, that was up there. Scarlet Nexus charted, I forget where it was, like fourth or fifth maybe, so not bad. Especially when you consider the competition. But what's always interesting to me, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, how does a game like Minecraft continue to sell? Like, who doesn't own this game anymore? Like, I don't.
It's the same people who don't own Grand Theft Auto 5 still,
or Mario Kart 8, right?
Or Mario Kart 8,
Or Mario Kart 8.
Okay, but that one I get. Mario Kart 8, I think it's sold a lot, but Switches keep selling, and so that's one of those games that you just get. You get the Switch and you get Mario Kart. I get it. Maybe Zelda too.
Do we know what system it's spiking in? Is it Switch maybe? Because maybe people are buying it.
It's on everything. I think on mobile. I think on mobile too. Part of me wonders if it's the multi-purchase crowd where it's like I have it on my Xbox, I have it on my phone, I have it on my computer. So there's probably a lot of that. It just feels like the sales numbers. What is Minecraft? It's got to be like 50 million units sold or something crazy.
It was like a good purchase on Microsoft's.
Big time.
So
let's see, Minecraft unit sales. Let's see if Google tells us how many it's sold. 200 million units. That wasn't even close. Wow. 200 million.
Holy crap!
That's it.
Is that the most purchased game of all time, or is it Tetris?
It might be Grand Theft Auto 5.
It's one of the best selling,
Tetris
right along Tetris and GTA 5.
Yeah.
GTA 5 also. Wow. Incredible.
Although it's making me accept all kinds of cookies to track me.
Oh, you're being hacked, Tim. Where are you?
I'm actively being hacked. Oh, once we just set up an account to see. You know what? Screw this. Whatever. We're just gonna say 200 million and move on.
What is this? 2005.
But how many people are there in our country? Like 350 million, maybe something like that.
Yeah, about 300, around 300 million. Yeah.
More than half of the population of the U.S. That's how many units of Minecraft have sold.
It won't stop until all the billions, Tim.
Good job,
all of the billions.
It's crazy. All right.
It won't stop until we're all jacked into Minecraft. So every single human being on Earth will be jacked into Minecraft. Minecraft is actually the Matrix.
Wow. Yeah. The Matrix got way less cool.
But Keanu Reeves is still the chosen one.
I played a lot of Minecraft too, but no, I don't want my
so this is actually the 10th year anniversary of Minecraft. I forget what time of year it came out.
Crazy. I can't believe it's been that long. That's crazy.
And I think this November is 10 years for Skyrim too, right? Wasn't that 2011? I think.
Jeez.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. 11/11/11, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Good catch.
So anyway, that's enough of MPD stuff. Let's talk about some negative stuff before we get into more positive news. And this isn't totally negative. I think Kyle, you might be the first one to say this because you're usually the one to help me kind of not get too down on delays. You're like, listen, let it keep cooking. If it's not ready yet, I don't want to hate this. Like make it good. So there's been a number of delays, nothing that like is a gut punch to me as far as like games that I absolutely couldn't wait for. It's games that I'm relatively interested in, but none of these are like huge gut punches for me personally. But the first one was Ghostwire Tokyo. Of course, that's from the Evil Within team, and they're saying it's early 2022. Whatever that means.
I feel like we've seen nothing on this game. I'm hyped for this game, just mind
They
you.
showed-
but like,
they
I
did-
feel like we don't ever see anything about this game, and if it's supposed to come out
Then
in 4 months.
they've been pretty quiet about it, right? For a while.
Yeah. We've seen a few trailers, you know,
Yeah.
but has anyone even had hands-on time with this game?
No.
Like it makes
There
me
was
feel
a newer trailer. There was one.
Okay. Well,
I
cool.
think it was at the PS5 showcase, or maybe it was one after that. I swear it was the PS5 showcase.
I mean, that
where
might
we
have been
saw like a bit
late
more
winter?
gameplay.
maybe early spring. It was a little while ago, and then we just haven't.
Yeah.
If they were going to launch this fall, we would have been hearing a lot right now.
Oh gosh, yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Like the most recent state of play that really featured Deathloop would have also featured Ghostwire Tokyo, or instead would have featured that. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's no surprise at all. I don't think anyone was shocked to see that. And it's more like, all right, we haven't seen anything, makes us a little nervous with how good the game is. Delay it
Yeah.
and make it better. So that's fine.
I'm excited for it.
I'm intrigued by it. And plus the folks at Tango Gameworks, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good. It's a good team. Yeah.
yeah, they know how to make something spooky, that's for sure. Riders Republic, what I thought looked like a pretty fun game from Ubisoft, that kind of downhill, crazy party snowboarders, gliders, biking game. That's moved to October 28th instead of September 2nd. This really struck me as a game that would have been great for a summertime release. I'm not saying they should have released it early before it was ready, but this would have been a fantastic like July,
agree.
early August game. It just has that vibe to it.
Mhm.
But instead, it's going to be releasing right in the thick of things in the fall. I feel like it's going to disappear super fast.
I think it got pushed into some waters it can't swim in, to be honest.
Same.
And I too think it
I
looks
get
really
pushed
fun.
back again.
Dude,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
release it like in February or something.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. Like where it's
That
not
could be great.
crowded, but it's too crowded right now. Like
Or even like a late December, really early January. Like give it its own little
Sure.
window that no one's really occupying.
January is good.
January is really good. But we'll see what happens. That is now October 28th. Speaking of January, another Ubisoft game, Rainbow Six Extraction, was delayed till January, out of September 16th. The moral of the story is Ubisoft hates September. That's what we're learning.
yeah,
Okay.
They hate my birth month,
they
apparently.
totally
hate
just bailed out of that month.
Jerks.
Yeah. So Rainbow Six Extraction, they showed a lot of this game. So I feel like the core of this game is ready, but maybe there's just more polish that they need, and they just aren't happy with where it is. We're 2 months out now from launch, and so they
Yeah.
moved it back to give themselves, so what is that, another 3 months, 4 months. So that gives them some polished time, hopefully. Warhammer 40K Darktide, which I remember seeing a teaser trailer for, and then they showed more of it this year, but now it's been pushed back to spring of next year. That's one of those ones where I've never been a major Warhammer 40K fan, but a few games here and there over the years have grabbed my attention. So anyway, that one's moved back to spring. And so is Resident Evil Reverse.
Oh,
Well,
man.
Yeah,
Wow, shucks.
Damn it.
I know.
There goes my fall.
There goes my goatee.
Yeah,
Did that
whatever,
did that
yeah.
have a release date, or were they just saying fall?
I don't know.
I don't actually know, because they had the beta recently, but then like it was like it came out the gate struggling already. Like the servers were all
Yeah.
like not working properly, and they shut it down. But then I think they did open it
I
back
thought-
up. So.
I thought like it was always like expected to come out like a month after launch, you know, after launch of 8. Like I thought it was supposed to be
Yeah.
a summer game or something, but I can't back that up with any kind of real info. I just, for whatever reason, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I forgot this game existed until this news came out, you know. They're like, we're pushing this game back. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
They seem very adamant on doing some sort of online Resident Evil thing, but like all anyone kept asking for was Mercenaries for years, and they did give us Mercenaries, but like it's not online. So like maybe
Yeah.
just do online Mercenaries, because that's what everyone wants.
Yeah,
So-
or make Resident Evil Outbreak 3, you cowards.
or that.
cut
yeah,
it
exactly.
out. Yeah,
You
cut it out with all
cowards.
this other like shenanigans you keep on throwing down our throats. Like make Outbreak 3, or just re-release the first 2 like in HD. I don't care. Like
Stop being cowards.
yeah.
Capcom.
Well, speaking of Ghostwire Tokyo, that game and Deathloop has been, let's call it indirectly confirmed that they are about 1 year timed exclusivity games for the PS5. They will be coming to Xbox. Why wouldn't they? Xbox owns the company that's
Sure.
creating them. But they are going to come a year later. So it makes me wonder. With Deathloop, it sounds like it's going to be almost exactly a year to when it's at least available to come on an Xbox. It doesn't mean it's going to launch on, what is it, September 14th? Is that the launch date for this year for PS5?
I don't remember.
It doesn't mean it's going to launch exactly 1 year later. It just means that I would suggest that September, maybe October of next year, we'll see it hitting Xbox and Game Pass. And then for Ghostwire Tokyo, my assumption is that it's going to be from actual release date, not from, target release date. So it'll be probably 2023 that we see that one on Xbox. So if those games are something that you're like, I'll never play them until they're free on Game Pass, like, all right, fine, you'll get them eventually.
They're coming. Yeah,
they'll be there.
Give them money, damn it.
Yeah, they'll be there.
Give them money.
And Xbox for Microsoft, it's a win-win, because if you buy the game, they get that money, and if you wait for Game Pass, they'll keep your subscription. They get that money. I mean,
wow.
They win.
What a racket, huh?
I know. If you buy it on PlayStation, Microsoft still makes money. It's amazing.
What's the developer again that does Dishonored, and then they're doing Deathloop now?
Arcane.
Arcane, yeah. They're like kind of a smaller studio, right?
I think so.
I believe. Yeah, like just freaking buy the game. Arcane and Tango are great studios. Evil Within 1, and I personally actually love 2, like way more than the first one, because I thought the first one felt kind of disjointed at some parts, but Evil Within 2 I think is like excellent. Like I think it's a very underrated game. So yeah, Tango works. I like what they've done so far. And then Dishonored, I know, has a huge cult following. Well, not huge, but like a decent cult following.
So I'm more on the Dishonored side. Like I recognize and respect the Evil Within games, even though they look too completely messed up for me to be interested in playing. They look so messed up.
Very messed up.
They're terrifying. Yes.
The Dishonored games, have played both of those mainline ones and some of the DLC stuff. They're so good. They're amazing.
Yeah.
So love those games.
Go buy their games, please.
Yeah, I highly recommend that. If you haven't played them, go play them. All right, Mr. Chocobo Central. I thought this was interesting because it's news by way of just here's some quotes, during this live letter that the Final Fantasy 14 producers put on. I don't know if you watch this, Dan, if it's something you track.
Tim,
but it's some kind of regular thing they do, I think, right?
Tim, I saw some notes here pertaining to Final Fantasy, and I just have one thing to say. How dare you? You stepping on my toes,
I dare.
I'm making a new thing, and you're just stepping all over me. How dare you?
Wait. Should we say we have really hot takes on this, but you have to go listen to Chocobo Central to hear them? Should we say
no?
that?
It's fine because it's
a hook right there.
It's not enough. It's not enough to make a whole episode about. So.
No, it's really not.
I want to save Chocobo Central for like say Final Fantasy 16 trailer dropped like tomorrow, and it was like 20 minutes.
And you should do an immediate reaction to it on
right, and then I would be talking about it and like the date, and so I want to do stuff more like that, not just like here's like 3 sentences, and then I do like I try to make like a 20-minute. It's like no, that's stupid. So yeah. But yes, I'm still mad at you. Furious.
That's fair. Please. I'm trying to stoke the fires of passion in anyone's hearts, so this podcast is interesting. So if I can get you fired up, that's great.
Always. I got to bring the Derek Teague energy.
Someone needs to.
Someone has to.
Yeah. So during the latest Final Fantasy 14 live letter from the producer, so Yoshida, a few details about the next mainline entry in the series, 16, came out. So the voice acting, all of the English voice acting is mostly done, which is good, because I know Square for the past few years has been saying that they want to definitely release Final Fantasy games like worldwide at the same time.
Sure.
Which is great, because in the past, obviously for many years when we were young, like Japanese games came out like, I mean, it could be a year, 2 years, 3 years, even more.
Yeah.
So the more they try to close that gap, the better. So that's good.
The localization would always take them a couple of years. It seemed like, right? To get them out.
I like it.
So I guess all the story scenarios set in stone, so that's good. So most of the story, or pretty much all the story is done, but I mean, clearly they're still, actually creating portions of the game. So clearly they're still working on it. Like it's not complete.
I thought that was interesting, that I would assume that if the voice recording is almost done. The story should have been done a while ago, I would have thought.
The one should come before the other, but yeah.
Well, if they're saying almost complete, then there must be maybe some aspects that could still be changing. It depends. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't know as far as because these are all different departments, So
and you can bring in voice actors again,
You can just have them read every word in the dictionary and then piece them together like a puzzle for every line you need them to say. That would sound great.
So this next bullet point, I think, development going well, but they might, So development going well, but they might not be able to show it at TGS. He wants to show it at utmost quality so people can watch and think. So that I actually really appreciate. So Yoshida is more along the lines thinking Fallout 4. He's thinking Fallout 4. That's what he's thinking, right?
Yeah, he wants them to see it and get excited and want to buy it.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to come out too far after that. That's what he wants.
Because he specifically said he doesn't like drip feed information. He doesn't like to do basically kind of what they have been doing with 7 Remake Part 2.
I respect that.
And you know what? Like, I'm excited for 2. So like when I do see a little bit of news, it's like, oh, that's cool. That's fine.
Sure.
But like I've been saying for a while, like just do everything the Fallout 4 way. Just save it and then just blow it out and show like 20, 30 minutes of stuff. If anybody, and if you don't want to watch it, don't watch what you don't want to watch.
Here's the release date and pre-orders open now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's within 6 months, and everyone's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So and you just get super excited because it's like, oh my god, 6 months, not like, the joke with Final Fantasy games. Oh, I'll see you in 2037. All that nonsense. Which I mean, I guess to be fair, that has some games have taken quite a while. So
then, Dan, you're our resident Final Fantasy pro. So when you see even little snippets like this taken from that live stream, that conversation, does that tell you this is definitely not coming in 2021? You're still holding out hope? What does this tell you?
I had said a couple of times I originally did think that there was potential for it being at the end of November 2021. I'm going to say at this point, no. Because if they're not going to even show anything at TGS,
right,
then it's like, well, then what's after that,
Yeah, when is TGS? September?
So it's generally September, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's always been September.
If you're not showing it by then, you're not releasing it by the end of the year.
Right. So I'm sure what they're going to do is have its own event, just like they did with 15.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like something like that, perhaps, and really just make a spectacle of it. But actually, this time land on that date, because remember how they showed us a date?
And they did. It had like the little like lottery spinner thing, and then it landed on. Wasn't it September at one point?
Yeah, it was September. Yeah, and then they moved it. And Greg Miller and Tim Geddes was there, which just really just adds fuel to the furious fire, because those two bastards. But yeah,
they were a perfect fit for 15, don't you think, Kyle?
Yeah.
They fit right in. Yeah,
it totally made sense. But yeah, no, I'm all for, take your time. If it's not going to come out this year, that's fine. I totally believe in Yoshida. I mean, dude, Final Fantasy 14 is like practically carrying them right now. Like, I mean, 7 Remake did make good numbers, good sales, but like 14 is just doing bonkers numbers, which I actually added. I could just go right into that if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's the other Final Fantasy little thing.
Yeah.
Digital copies of Final Fantasy 14 Online Complete Edition were temporarily paused. They straight up just stopped selling the game on their website.
This is so fascinating to me.
Me too. Yeah, what is that about?
While sales have since resumed for Final Fantasy 14, the pause may have been caused by the MMORPG's exploding popularity. So it seems like they're basically right now. And I've been seeing videos popping up on YouTube. People making videos about people like specifically with WoW. People are abandoning ship over on World of Warcraft, and a lot of them are coming over to try out 14 and really liking it. So it just seems like their servers are just being bombarded. There's the new expansion coming out this year. A lot of people, I guess, have been live streaming it recently, like more than they have before. So yeah, it just seems like there's just a lot of people like just slamming their servers, which I mean is good, right? You want that player base.
Amazing news. Yeah. Talk about it. Remember when this game first came out and it was so bad, it was taken off of store shelves and rebooted 3 years later. Like
it was taken off of shelves twice for very different reasons, right?
Yes, now twice now. Yeah, you're right.
Was it twice? Because it was one.
Because this time and the
this
first
time it was good. It was off digital.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It's funny. when I was working the other day and I was just searching through YouTube for something to listen to, I found game trailers video review for Final Fantasy 14 1.0, the original version.
Wow.
So I watched the whole thing. I was like, oh my god, this looks so bad.
They reused the same textures everywhere across the entire world, pretty much.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
the cheapest.
It was so bad. It looked like so graphically at that time, it actually was like one of the best looking MMOs, if not the best, but it didn't run super well. And you needed a really strong PC, like super strong. And just, and the environment, like the fast travel, like either just didn't exist, or just, it was poorly implemented. Like it was hard to do. And like, it just wasn't like, it wasn't fun. Like, and the combat looked really bland. The combat in it now is actually pretty fun for like MMO. And then, just the way that they ended 1.0 going into 2.0 was super cool, and like actually is part of the lore, which I think is super cool. So, that game, that just the story of that game front to back is just so interesting and just fascinating.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it came from a game that was almost canceled to like the most popular MMO working right now. It's awesome.
Yoshida literally saved Square Enix at that time, because it was a different producer or director, whatever his actual position is, and that guy then left or stepped down. I don't know if he's still there. And then Yoshida came in, and everything's good now. So.
Yeah, well, that is definitely one of those rare cases of a game that, taking it back to the drawing board, even after release, for some major updates, actually worked.
Yeah.
So, and not only worked, like it was unreal what they did, which is awesome.
So I trust, basically the bottom line is, what I'm getting at is, I trust Yoshida and his team for making 16. So it's going to be excellent. I believe everything will be fine.
It's all going to be fine.
It's all going to be okay,
guys. I promise.
It's going to be okay.
All right, well, Company of Heroes 3 was announced for PC, coming out late next year. They're targeting holiday next year. Of course, it's a PC game, because it's a strategy game. It's a kind of a RTS style. This time it's still set during World War II. This time it's set in the Mediterranean theater. I don't know if you played the other two or not. I have them both on Steam. I've played them both, not all the way to the end. I've played more of 2 than 1. There's like a legendary edition, or there's some kind of upgraded edition that I have on Steam for 2, and it is very, very good. It's very fun. You want to flank your opponent. It's very cover based. You have to find whether it's foxholes or things to hide behind, things like that, where you can get good cover, and very strategic. So I like it a lot. I think Company of Heroes is a great series, and I did watch a little bit of the reveal for 3. It does look good. There's a beta right now, although it might be closed by the time you hear this. I'm not sure how long they're keeping that open. But yeah, that's a big deal if you like PC strategy games. Speaking of PC, Red Dead Redemption 2. So if you own this game, from what I can tell, it's on any of the platforms. I own it on Epic. A lot of people probably bought it on Steam during the Steam sale. It might still be on sale for $40 on Steam. But anyway, Red Dead Redemption 2 now allows for DLSS, which, by the way, you've heard Derek talk about it. I've talked about it a little bit. It's this proprietary upscaling solution that NVIDIA implemented a while ago, and one of the games that used it most effectively was Control. So systems that should not be able to run that thing at really high quality, they were like, how does this look so good and run so smoothly? And it was because you activate, it was, I think, by default on for a while there for Control. And it's called their deep learning super sampling. Sounds like some kind of AI that's going to take over. Who knows?
Skynet.
Cool. It's definitely Skynet. But yeah, they claim, NVIDIA is claiming it improves performance by up to 45%. But even if it's half that, that's significant, So that is pretty cool. So that's for Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, that is a very taxing game, even on the most powerful of systems. So to use DLSS that's a huge deal. That's a big deal. Man-Eater was one of my favorite Swimming in 7 games from last year. I love this game. I also really love Chris Parnell's narrating for this game. It's just so good. And apparently his character is, again, a big part of the next DLC, which, by the way, comes out during Shark Week at the end of August. Perfect timing.
Perfect.
It's called Truth Quest. They're going to have a whole new island, this new area, new enemies to fight, new level cap, some more story missions, challenges, all that kind of stuff. New evolutions for your shark. So that's a very silly, but I thought kind of guilty pleasure type of a game, because it's it is very repetitive. But if you kind of like the loop, and you just kind of like the feeling of being this gigantic swimming monster who can demolish everything as you get big enough to, it really can be fun. And it's got like a small open world. It's not a massive open world, but it's one of those open world things where you can kind of travel around and check all the boxes. Did you collect all of these things? Did you finish all these side missions? You know, it's got some of that. So, not crazy as Valhalla. Okay, don't get too excited. It's not
no,
it's not to that level. All right, so Lost Judgment, and I thought this one was interesting too. This might be the final game in the Judgment series due to this talent agency. Do you guys know more about this? There's some kind of issue here.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so Lost Judgment may be the final game in the Judgment series due to ongoing issues with Sega and the actor, Takuya Kimura's talent agency. So apparently they have beef with the games being on Steam or just on PC, I guess. And I think it has something to do with like modding and like messing with the likeness of the faces and stuff like that. Like it's just old like mentalities basically. They're just like, no, you can't do that because blah blah blah. It's like, all right, I mean, whatever. So I mean, unless Sega can figure something out where either they just, because I mean, I think Steam is a big is big for them. They make a lot of money over there.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about this? I know you're a fan of these games.
Yeah, it's just crazy. You shouldn't let this series die over it. Just change everybody's faces. Like, who cares? You know, like no one's gonna care. Like, don't even explain it. Like, don't even like address it. Like, let this game come out. Which it sounds like this game is coming out regardless. But like going forward, like the future's in jeopardy. Like, yeah, just change everybody's faces. Get new voice. I don't care. You know, just make sure this keeps going. But like, don't bend to the will of these like weird talent agencies who are trying to like squeeze money or something. I don't know what their issue is. Or I think you're right. It's more the modding thing, but like it's very old world thinking and
Insomniac changed Spider-Man's face. They changed Peter Parker's face.
Well that was weird, but like I'm one of those people that it's like I'm kind of okay with it, I guess. I mean, I think it throws some people off because they're just seeing this one face and now it's suddenly a different face. So it's like it's the same character, but I'm seeing a different person. So it's a different character. So I don't know. The game's going to be coming out soon. So unless they somehow delay it so they can change the story where the character dies and then it's somebody else, that's the only way I think you could somehow have it lead into something else where like then it's a new character and it like makes sense within the world. You know what I mean? But just simply changing the faces, that rubs some people the wrong way. So
it would, yeah.
You know, but I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully that is not the end of the Judgment series. I know that is a cool way to continue the more traditional Yakuza gameplay because they're kind of shifting to more of the turn-based on the main Yakuza series. So it'd be nice for them to be able to continue those two pretty strong series. So we'll see what happens there. Let me ask you guys a question about Netflix real quick. Did you ever try out their choose your own adventure style stories that they did? Did you ever try those out?
I did Bandersnatch or Bander or whatever.
Yeah, the Black Mirror one, right?
Yeah. I did the Kimmy Schmidt actually. There was like
I did that one too.
Yeah, and it actually like concluded the whole thing. That was pretty cool.
And they did the Minecraft story mode, I think.
That one I didn't see.
Was it Minecraft? What was it? I feel like there was a Minecraft type of a game that did that decision making on there.
Telltale did.
Yeah, I don't know if it was connected to the Telltale one or not, but I'm pretty sure there was a Minecraft one. I could be misremembering, but that was as far as I had ever seen Netflix dip their toes into the gaming waters. Outside of when they used to have, do you remember briefly when they had Quickster? Do you remember Quickster?
Quickster?
With the Q. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I do remember that. Yeah.
I tried it briefly because I was a big fan of GameFly. I tried out Blockbuster's mail-in thing for a little while, and Quickster was Netflix's video game mailing service. You could rent video games.
Okay.
Didn't last very long, obviously. I don't think they made a lot of money on it.
No.
GameFly did last a long time. I don't know if they're still in business. Are they? Is GameFly still?
Yeah, it still exists.
I think
they have sales and stuff. Like people actually buy games off of there, I believe.
I've purchased some games from them before.
Yeah.
And what I liked about that too was you'd get it in the mail, you try it. If you like it, you just go back to your account and click purchase, and they'll send you the box. Excuse me, the box with the box art, and then just send you your next game in your queue to rent because you've now purchased them. Yeah. So that was a cool setup. But anyway, there's these rumors flying around about Netflix they're hiring. They're starting some plans. They might even be talking to Sony. There's some whispers about that they're interested in adding a video game service to their platform. We don't know exactly what that means. We don't know if that's a full-on streaming service a la Stadia. We don't know if that's more of a Game Pass style thing where they team up with publishers to allow their games to be downloadable through Netflix as part of their subscription somehow, or if it's more of the lighthearted, I shouldn't say lighthearted, Bandersnatch was on lighthearted, but more of the video game light experiences where you are picking a one of 2 or 3 answers. So we don't really know exactly what this means, but there's a lot of whispers going around about Netflix doing this. It wouldn't really shock me if they did. I feel like interactive entertainment is a natural next step for a company like Netflix. They're churning out new content all the time, and you have to think, if you're in charge of that company, what's next? And you have to start thinking interactive. You have to start, I mean, they don't want to become fully user-generated content. They don't want to be YouTube. But how do we get our users more engaged where this becomes a platform they have to come to? And so make it the spot where you come for more entertainment than just binging a show. Because I remember even seeing, I don't remember if it was, is his name Reed Hastings? Is that his name? The CEO of Netflix? I think it's Reed Hastings.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it was him or it was someone else from Netflix acknowledging that, hey, our biggest competition isn't necessarily the other streaming services. It's things like Fortnite. Because there's only so many hours in the day, and these certain entertainment platforms that completely take all their time. Now they have less hours to view our content. And so they're trying to, I think they're trying to create a place where you just log into Netflix for all of your gaming and binge watching needs. So anyway,
but
is this interesting to you guys? Do you want them to do this?
Well,
No,
it depends on what
not
it
for me,
is,
no.
right?
Okay.
'Cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm interested to see what it ends up being, but like nothing that I've heard so far speaks to me.
If it's-
to be excited for.
If it's straight up video games, then that seems weird because PlayStation has PlayStation Now, which is essentially like their version of like a Netflix.
But what
for
if that's what
games.
this is? What if Netflix and PlayStation now are now partnering, not unlike EA Play with Game Pass, where it's as part of your subscription you get access to.
Yeah, could this be
library of
Sony's
games.
move? Could this be their big move? You know, to like move in on
That
this,
way, every
this thing?
platform that has Netflix now also has PS Now.
I'm gonna
available.
throw out a take or an idea. I think this is because it's a rumor, right? I think this rumor is being completely skewed. I'm thinking that it's more Netflix talking to Sony about their properties to make like movies, whether they're live action or animated, for Netflix specifically.
It definitely.
So I think it does. It is connected to games in the sense that, hey, you have all these properties. Do you want to make movies or shows on Netflix exclusive to Netflix? And we'll make a deal. Like
now you have me. Now I'm super into that idea.
It could be that. That could be part of it. That could be all of it.
Sure.
But there are part of the rumor is that they are hiring teams that it's starting to look more and more like producers and developers of interactive experiences. So again, could have nothing to do with gaming long term, but it'd be interesting to see what they do. I don't necessarily want them to create a brand new Netflix gaming studios, and then now we have another Stadia to contend with, where they announce it comes out 12 months later, they have one exclusive and then 2 really old ported games, and that's it, and then they're done.
Yeah,
I would be much more interested if we've partnered with Sony, and as part of your Netflix subscription, you now have access to PlayStation Now. Now my eyebrows are up, like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if that will actually work well.
And Netflix like syncs with your Bluetooth controller easily with no ease.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Now you've got my attention, you know?
Yeah, then it turns in. Sure. I mean, yeah, if they announce something like that, it would definitely be ear raising for me. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious if that's what it is, if it really is them trying to be kind of what Amazon's done, dipping their toes into the video game world, and same with Google with Stadia. Like, those things aren't as interesting to me, because at least the track record for those things is not great.
No.
So we shall see. But I did want to give a shout out to the Microsoft marketing department. Not only do I follow their various Twitter accounts. They're not all always super fun. Sometimes they're just marketing, but sometimes they are very human and very fun. I really like when companies do that. That's why I love Wendy's. Like they're not necessarily my very favorite burger. I actually like Wendy's burgers. I think they're pretty good. They're not my go-to though. Like if I'm going to grab fast food, I'm probably going to grab something else. But that being said, I love Wendy's marketing and social media team. I think they're fantastic and hilarious. And Xbox, I think, is starting to lean into that a little bit. They have for the last couple of years. Have you guys seen their ads with like the fake music video stuff? Have you seen these?
I saw a part of that.
I mean, they're very cheesy, but they're very funny. Like they're leaning into the cheese.
Yeah.
And their most recent one, I don't know if you guys saw this. It wasn't their most recent, but it was a recent ad. It had a picture of a kid from over his shoulder. He was playing, he or she was playing Sea of Thieves on some kind of tablet that was propped up. Couldn't tell what kind of tablet it was. Holding a PS4 controller while they're playing. And the tweet read, and it was it's from the Nickelback song. The tweet read, "Look at this photograph. It's one of our cloud gaming ads. Do you see what's in those hands? It's a controller from a different brand." Like that was their tweet.
All right.
How is that even?
Sure.
How is that even allowed? How is that even allowed?
Dude, I thought it was so.
That's good.
It's hard not to chuckle at that. Like they're just
Sure.
having fun. They're having
Yeah.
fun, and they're recognizing to me, the thing that sets them apart from, I don't know, I feel like Nintendo and Sony still kind of have sticks up their butt in terms of like trying to sound human. They seem very robotic. Even Reggie, as much as we love Reggie, very robotic. Like kind of always looked like someone was living inside him, controlling him. You know what I mean?
Like Kevin in The Office.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Does somebody say someone's inside me, working me like a machine with controls?
Yeah. And so I feel like Sony and Nintendo, for better or worse, they both seem to be very kind of old school. We have to maintain a very put together, buttoned up front. We'll have fun a little bit sometimes with certain personalities, but for the most part, we're very. Nintendo has loosened up a little bit over the years with their Nintendo Directs. They're trying to get a little more, cutesy here and there, but for the most part, those two are very serious. And I think Microsoft is leaning heavy into, we're here for everybody. We like all games. We're going to let Phil Spencer, the face of our company, he's going to talk about all the other consoles that he likes. He talks about liking the Switch and liking PlayStation and enjoying Last of Us. Like he talks about the competition. He doesn't pretend like they don't exist. Nintendo and Sony, they pretend like they don't exist. So
yeah.
I really like that Microsoft is like, hey, no, we are aware that there's a huge gaming industry out here, and we are part of that, and we want to enjoy it with you. And that's the vibe I get. Okay, I know it's all just trying to drive sales numbers and build PR, but they communicate to me at least a vibe of, hey, we all like video games too. And yeah, we make Xbox ones. We want you to buy our stuff, but they're all pretty great. Like that's the vibe they put out. Whether it's
I'm here
right
for
or
that. Yeah, I'm here for that.
At one point, Sony was kind of having fun and being a little silly with their marketing. Remember during PS3 was it Kevin Butler?
Oh yeah,
was it Kevin Butler? That whole thing. They had that going on.
They were battling Nintendo, and they were just entering the scene. They really let Nintendo have it sometimes because Nintendo truly was the overly buttoned up, we don't have fun at all over here type of company. Right. Sony was letting them have it with the bad boys of the late 90s. You had Attitude Era with WWF. You had Mountain Dew.
Crash Bandicoot yelling into a megaphone.
Oh, yeah, that's classic commercials.
All that stuff, man. And so PlayStation leaned into that at that point.
There you go, Gaston. There's your Crash Bandicoot mention for the episode.
Boom. Yeah.
All right, well, this coming week you'll have EA Play. So if you're a fan of EA's many franchises,
Dead Space, Tim.
EA stuff happening. I think that's probably the most anticipated thing is what are they doing with Dead Space? What are we going to see with Dead Space? But they did confirm they are not going to be showing a new Star Wars game. I think companies are doing this more and more to make sure that they're not letting people down. They want the event to have a positive momentum. Sure, Sony did it with their State of Play. They're like, hey, by the way, this is going to be pretty boring.
Showing up, man.
By the way, this isn't very interesting, so don't get excited.
Hey, that loop does look cool. Everybody on the internet is dumb, Tim. Everyone is dumb.
But they said, they did hint, just hang on for more of what's going to happen in the galaxy far, far away next year. So it sounds like they're not done with Star Wars, even though, don't forget, they no longer have, we don't think, the exclusivity with Star Wars, because I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's confirmed that Ubisoft is tapped to develop their next open world Star Wars game.
I thought that was confirmed, but you got me all scared to say something hard about it. So yeah,
listen,
a tentative confirmed.
I understand you boys are Star Wars la-di-da whatever. All right. Yeah. Star Wars is fine. They have stuff.
I don't like your tone already.
I'm already
off on your tone.
Dead Space needs to come back from the ashes. Rise like a phoenix. We need Dead Space back, damn it. All right? Give me Dead Space or I'm burning EA to the ground. That's my vow. All right?
Do you want Dead Space remade or do you want Dead Space 4? Do you want Dead Space rebooted completely? What do you want?
I think they should. What do you ideally, all right, so pie in the sky, right? Pie in the sky. Yeah. I want them to remake 1 and 2, completely act like 3 never existed, and continue the story.
So it's gonna be multiple
Like Neil
timelines.
Blomkamp's Alien from like
Yeah,
years ago.
right.
It's like 3 didn't exist.
Because-
It's a sequel to 2.
Retconning that one.
Dead Space needs to keep the like single person, like claustrophobic, just like all the enemies coming at you feels. They need to keep that. But because 3 veered a little bit, it went more actiony and it was like co-op. It's like no.
Listen,
Just
as Star Wars fans, Kyle and I know what you're talking about because there have been directors who have more or less retconned stories from previous directors.
Yeah.
right.
In sequels.
Yes.
That's what happens when you don't have a plan, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what happens.
They
Tell me
did their
about-
best.
Tell me about Metachlorians. Tell me about Metachlorians.
Yeah.
How much time do you have?
all the time, Kyle, all the time.
Oh man. Well, I am excited to see what they say about Dead Space. I'm curious, I guess is a better word. I'm more excited to see probably next year. It sounds like
Burn to the ground.
Jedi Fallen Order Part 2. I do want to see more of that.
Yeah, I want more of that like now, like,
me too.
yeah,
I know.
I felt like now. I thought like this year we were going to be hearing something about it, so it's kind of surprising to me that we're going to go.
Sounds like a Star Wars celebration type of a thing for next year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, or maybe even like this. I know there's a big Disney convention coming up. And like
D3 or D23.
D23. Yeah, maybe they save it for that. I don't know. At this point,
Yeah.
I'm just hoping.
Yeah, I just want more of that game because I love that game.
I mean, did you play it? It's just wonderful.
It's
It's
the
just
best.
so great. Yeah.
It's the best. Whatever, Dan. It was the best game that year. Okay.
Yeah, he was cutting out for me. I couldn't see
Yeah,
his reaction or hear him.
I don't know about best game, but it's
I
fine.
couldn't quite hear you. It's fine. It's totally fine. All right. Well, listen. This is the big news of the week. I wanted to talk about this one because this is what I'm most excited about, and that is we've already talked about the rumors that Valve was working on a handheld device. Apparently, internally, don't know if it was officially internally codenamed Steam Pal, but the rumors all kept saying Steam Pal. And I know some folks even said Steam Boy, which I thought was just hilarious. That would have been a
Steam
hilarious name.
I
Yeah,
like that.
Steam Boy. It actually sounds like a anime movie, wasn't it? Was there an anime movie called Steam Boy?
I think there was, yeah.
You're thinking Astro Boy. You're thinking Astro Boy.
No, I'm thinking of Steam Boy. Look it up. I think there's a Steam Boy.
I think you're right. I have the trailer in my head and everything. Yeah.
I know I can kind of picture it. It's like it's not Astro Boy. It's anime style, like more Miyazaki
Yeah,
type.
like Astro Boy.
No.
All right, I'll look it up right now. Once my
All right.
browser comes
Yeah,
up.
it's called Steam Boy 2004. Boom.
Bam.
Good job, Tim. You did
Anime
it.
though, or
Yeah, it's anime for sure. Yeah. It was
It's
one of the
probably-
few that like in the early 2000s that came here to America with like an amazing dub and.
it's probably a spin-off from Astro Boy. is
Oh
what-
my gosh, it's got nothing to do with Astro Boy.
Wow. Yeah.
I know what Astro Boy is. All right.
Oh, Steam Boy. Okay, that image looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had to confirm it with someone else and you couldn't believe me, your
Yeah.
friend.
Or
Definitely a
me,
spin-off.
the guy who did look it up also.
I know.
Definitely a spin-off though. Definitely a spin-off.
Oh my gosh. Dan's like, just come to me for the facts, listeners. Don't listen to these.
When it comes to anime, I know what I'm talking about. All right, I'm the weep here. I'm the weep.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, Valve did finally announce officially that they are releasing a handheld platform, and it's called the Steam Deck. And there's two really funny things about this. One, it's really close to the word dick, which is going to make all kinds of fun.
Steam Dick.
Yeah, it's
Stevie
which is
Dick.
hilarious. There's a whole bunch that you could do there. It's going to be very funny. We'll see what people come up with. But also, apparently, there is the company Corsair just released their new Stream Deck.
Mm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like a
Wow.
streaming. So
wow.
I was doing some searching. Sorry about the loud motorcycles out there. I was doing some searching when this first was announced just to get more details on it. I was trying to
And
look up
those
tech
tech-
specs,
Yeah.
and then Stream Deck. Google kept saying, "Do you mean Stream Deck?" I was like, "No. What is a Stream Deck?"
Or it was giving me results of those decks that you get for like streamers, the different little buttons and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So, and I think Corsair is one of the manufacturers of that. But anyway, so I'm getting advertised too by them right now. These, because I did some searches on them. Thanks a lot, cookies. Anyway, this is what I thought was really funny. So they announced this on Thursday, and I think it was Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
They announced it on Thursday,
Yesterday. Yeah.
and that was the day that the Switch OLED pre-orders went live. I just thought there's no way that's coincidental
No.
that Valve is doing this. There's no way. So they had a couple members of the IGN staff come to their offices at Valve and get hands-on time with it. They made some really interesting kind of, I thought, pretty at-length videos detailing how it feels, what's the form factor, what are the tech specs, how does it actually run games. They have a guy at IGN named Bo Moore. Listen, I know people have various opinions on IGN as a company, but they do have some good reporting folks there. Ryan McCaffrey was there, and a guy named Bo Moore was there, and they, I thought, had some really insightful things to share about it, some of the pros and cons. But let's go through some of the details, and I'm curious what you guys think of this too. Of course, it's a handheld gaming PC. That's exactly how they described it. They wanted to be very clear. This is actually a PC. You're not buying a console that is within, as Ryan McCaffrey put it, like a walled garden, where usually with a console, you have to play within these confines. You don't really have an option unless you know how to completely disassemble it somehow. You're stuck with whatever they give you. This is a PC. You could go as far as uninstalling the Steam OS, which is the Linux-based operating system. You could uninstall it completely and install Windows if you wanted to. Like, it's a PC, which I thought was interesting.
Wow, interesting.
Form factor, of course, similar to a Switch. We'll talk about some of the specs of how big it is and stuff like that in a little bit. But the most interesting thing to me was that it's a console. Yes, it'll have Steam OS installed on it, but it's actually not. It's more than that. It's a PC. So as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, it'll be like a follow-up to the PSP and Vita for a lot of people, because they can just jailbreak this thing. They don't have to jailbreak it. They can just create their own little emulation machine on this thing that can be all they've ever wanted, I guess.
That sounds pretty sweet.
In those terms.
Sounds pretty sweet.
Of course, the reservations for orders open now. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That was an interesting experience today as I was trying to get in the queue for that. But here's how the devs referred to it. They call it a small PC. You can install whatever software you want. You can buy your own add-ons or mods or whatever it is you would do with a normal desktop. Theoretically, and this is something that the IGN guys even said, you could install Windows, or you could have two separate OS installs. Like you would, some people partition their PC to have, two different OSs installed depending on what they want to play.
Yep.
Which means you could play Game Pass or Epic Store games right on there as well. Because you're
it's a portable Xbox machine. Wow.
Yeah.
And so Ryan McCaffrey from IGN did talk about that quite a bit, about how he would be shocked if Phil Spencer and Xbox aren't already in talks with them about how can we not ask users to do that? How can we actually use your OS and give Game Pass, make Game Pass accessible through the Steam OS?
Yeah.
So he said he'd be shocked if they're not already thinking, we don't have to make a handheld device. They've already made it. We just have to make our platform available.
If Sony was smart, because they are starting to kind of, go into PC, they should have PlayStation Now or something on there too. I mean, they're more stubborn about that kind of stuff, but they would be smart to do that, Yeah.
Well, what is cool, of course, Steam does have a collection of both Microsoft and Sony first-party games on there. You've got things like Horizon, Death Stranding. You've got Halo Infinite will release on Steam day one. So you can use it as a device to play games you would normally play on a big screen on a console. You could play it portable, but you're not, right now at least, not out of the box could you just log in the Game Pass and play everything. That's the dream though, because then you could pretty much have an X-Boy at that point, right?
Or a Playboy.
Yeah, good one. For those of you who care about the specs, they've got a custom AMD APU with 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz CPU. So it's got pretty good speed, pretty good processing power, 16 gigs of RAM. For comparison, the Switch, they kind of updated it a couple years back. That's at 4 gigs of RAM. So it's 4 times as good when it comes to memory, at least. They have a micro SD card slot where you can expand the storage. And they're saying battery life anywhere from 2 to 8 hours on a full charge, depending on what game you're playing and if you're online and all that stuff, which isn't that surprising. I wouldn't expect the battery life to be crazy long. But I imagine if you're playing like Stardew Valley or some of the other smaller indie games, you probably can play it for a while.
Yeah.
Don't know if you guys saw the device or not, but it looks a lot like a Mega Switch, because you've got the two kind of attachable control pieces on either side of this thing that they can detach, and you can play them separately as well. They each have a trackpad, so the positioning of the buttons and analog sticks looks a little bit funky. You've got buttons and analog sticks all really high on the control scheme on the way that this looks, and then underneath each of those you have these little trackpads that essentially operate as like a laptop trackpad for a mouse. That's how they operate. And so they were talking about what that's like. For example, one of them was playing Portal, or I think Ryan is even playing Doom Eternal, and he used the left stick just like you would on a controller, like your WASD style. You're moving straight, forward, back, left to right, and then instead of using the right analog stick, he used the trackpad, And he said after just kind of some minor adjustments on his own, kind of getting used to it, it really did feel like using a mouse, because not only can you use the trackpad as if it were a mouse, now the gyroscope kicks into gear, so it actually has some motion control into it as well. So he seemed really impressed with it as a big Doom fan. So they've got those. They've got some buttons on the back as well. If you like your Elite controller, you can map. By the way, you can map all the buttons just like you would on a PC. You can map every button to do something different if you want. Bluetooth compatible. So again, in theory, you could Bluetooth connect any of your current controllers that you love to it, just like you would do a PC. Same thing with your headset. Built-in microphone, standard USB-C port for charging, and there are third-party docks already out there in the wild for stuff like this. So you could use a third-party dock to go ahead and display it on a bigger screen, or you could buy their dock, which they're going to sell separately, which I really hope they call the Steam Deck dock.
Yeah. Steam Deck dock.
Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
Steam Deck dock. You start saying dick a bunch.
It's a 7-inch screen, LCD, with a 1280 by 800 resolution, which is only slightly better than the 720 that you'll get on a Switch, which is interesting because I know a lot of people are like, I've actually seen this, even some folks in our group, and I love you guys. Well, some of you, but the idea that you have to have 4K on a handheld just seems so silly to me. Like there are some people who are like, well, if it's not even 4K, what's the point? I'm like, what are you talking about? The screen, it's like the size of an iPad mini.
Tim, it's not enough P's for Derek. He needs all the P's, all right?
It wasn't even him. I think he would be in our camp saying like, all right, maybe 1080 would be about as much as you could tell a difference. Once you get over that, you're not going to be able to tell a difference. There's not that much room.
You're squeezing it together, so the pixels are being it just looks fine, like it's good.
Right.
You know,
it's going to look the same on a screen that small. That's why you want your 4K or 8K or whatever it is on your big giant screens, because that's where you can really tell the difference. But all that being said, what I like about the fact they're shooting for this essentially 800p resolution, and it sounded like I also heard some people saying 720p, that means they can save all that power. And this thing, by the way, is really powerful. They can save all that power just for running games smoothly. And it sounds like a lot of games they were able, even like Doom, they were able to run on all high settings, not ultra, but on high settings for Doom Eternal. So that's really encouraging. This thing will be able to run games really smoothly because it's not shooting for this insane resolution.
So is it high and then ultra set? Is that the jump, high settings and then ultra? Or is there anything in between? Okay.
No, it'd be like low, medium, high, ultra.
Wow. Okay. That is impressive then.
It is. It is. And I think they're able to do that because of the low requirement for the resolution. Now, you could make an argument that once you plug it into a high res monitor, then maybe you're taxing the system a little more. And now you got to bring things down to more of that medium to maybe even low level for some games. That's probably going to happen. Like it's essentially a mid-level PC. They compared it to, if you want to do teraflops, the PS4, I think, was 1.9 teraflops, and this is right around 2, is what the guys were saying on the IGN video. So it's slightly stronger than Xbox One or PS4, just in terms of general processing power. But the difference is you've got your full Steam library. And I don't know if you guys have ever purchased anything on Steam. I've got this massive Steam library that sometimes feels wasted because a lot of them are these kind of smaller indie games, and I'm like, hey, if I'm taking time in my busy schedule to sit down at the computer and play a game, I'm going to play something huge. I'm going to play a big game, or I'm going to play a big strategy game. I'm probably not going to try out the bear and breakfast indie game or whatever.
Why not, Tim? How dare you?
But on a handheld, like on the Switch was before, and now it looks like this one might become that for me. Last thing I'll say before I want to get some of your guys' thoughts too, that I thought was really cool. They do have a suspend feature. One of the biggest drawbacks of playing games on PC, in my experience in the last year or so of becoming more of a PC gamer, is you can't really suspend anything. I mean, you can, but your computer stays on and running, and sometimes it'll run hot for a long time if you leave a game, if you just leave a game paused and leave it on. You can't truly suspend video games on the PC, at least not in my experience. This will allow you to do that. So you can suspend one game at a time. It's not like the Xbox Series S and X where you can have, several suspended at once. But even being able to suspend and resume one is a huge step forward. I love that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about this thing? Is this as interesting to you as it is to me? Does this appeal to you? And neither one of you are super into PC gaming. I know you play some, and you have at least What do you think about this?
I would be super into PC gaming, but it's like over the years, it's just like you need a super strong PC if you want like it to be the best that it could possibly be. And it's like, well, that's asking a lot because I don't just have $2,000 to drop, you know, like, and that's just on the PC, not even the monitor too. Like
Correct.
the monitors could be, you know, 1,000, 1,500. So like that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Tim, Valheim on the go.
Dude.
Yeah.
Valheim on the go.
Play Valheim with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's, for me, like I sit at a PC all day for work, you know. I know how to use PCs, but for the most part, like once there's too many barriers, like, oh, I have to update I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to upgrade this, like it becomes like a giant like nuisance to me. So like that's why I've kind of stayed away from PC gaming, because it's like it's kind of involved, you know, and I just don't have time to like learn everything to like stay on top of all that stuff. This is a great entry point for people like me who are just like, I don't want to deal with like PCs and upgrading them and always having something that's going to play a game or be able to play a game. This sounds like something perfect. So people like me who like look at PC games from time to time and go, oh, that's never coming here. You know, like now I can play those games in a really easy way without fiddling with like all this stuff that like it takes to, you know, be a PC gamer. So I think it's awesome. I think that once they're readily available, I'm going to be very ready to buy one. So
yeah,
I think some of the struggles that a lot of folks have with PC gaming is that you're also maintaining this huge machine that does tons of stuff. Most folks are going to be on a Windows-based machine, and some folks might be on Apple, and then even fewer will probably be on some kind of Linux-based machine. But those folks usually know what they're doing, right? They're in more of the custom world of things.
right.
So I don't have any experience with the Steam OS. I've never used it. I know they've put out a few things over the years, like their own Steam boxes. Remember they did those console versions or stuff like that. That didn't really catch on, and I don't know if it was a Steam OS issue or if it was just the demand for that wasn't really there. I don't know what that was. But I do know that, and I think the price was also a barrier because those were still pretty expensive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you weren't really getting a lot of bang for your buck in terms of a really high quality PC. But anyway, I would imagine that a device like this, unless you decide I'm going to wipe the OS, install Windows, and do all my own emulation and stuff, then you're introducing a whole bunch of things you're going to need to update. You're going to have to probably buy, download some very specific mods that allow Windows things to run properly on this device. So there's probably going to be a huge learning curve, just like there would be with putting together your own PC. But if you just buy it and use it as it's intended with the Steam OS right there, and if that's just the only way that you use it, I get the feeling it's going to be a great experience for most folks. That's just I could be wrong. It could end up being horrible. But
that's the siren song for me, is everything that you just said, is that like it is going to just be a self-sufficient thing that takes care of itself and updates singularly just on the particular OS, that Steam OS, and games will update individually, and I don't have to worry about drivers or switching out grounding something and switching out my
console,
graphics card.
It'll be like, here's your firmware update for your console, just like you normally would see. Right?
Or just like you pick it up and your Switch goes, "Hey, we updated recently," and like that's what this is going to be, and that's super alluring to me, you know. So
I don't know. Did you see any of the videos or images of the menu? It looks very much like the Switch.
It does.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the touchpad, so that does make sense for the button placement, but I still think the button placement is just super wonky. It just
I would love to hold one to see what it feels like for sure.
Yeah,
How heavy
it's all up top. It's
very
all
high.
Seems too close to the top.
It does
so
look kind of chunky
weird
at some angles too. So I want to know what that like feels.
Yeah, I'm curious. What is it comfortable to kind of shift your hands up a little bit more than you normally would, and is that still comfortable? Because then you don't have to reach as far. Because I'm with you. They like, especially the kind of ABXY buttons on the top right, they almost look like they barely fit. Like they're on the very edge of the controller.
It's like curving a little bit.
I saw someone tweeted out like, why does it look like they're holding on for dear life on the edge of the controller there?
It's like, help.
So, but I could be wrong, but I would imagine that Valve themselves will probably put out some alternative controllers, at least colors, if nothing else. And I'd be shocked if we didn't get some interesting third-party options for these. And keep in mind, you can always use Bluetooth for any controller that you like, and you can just prop it up in your tabletop mode.
Right. But then you're having to prop it up. Like if I'm sitting on the couch and I do feel like playing it, then it would make more sense to use the buttons on the device. But again, we'll see. We'll see how it feels.
There was one suggestion that said, let's say you want to play some kind of RTS where you really do need a mouse.
Yeah.
And let's just say you don't have a dock yet or whatever. You can't really dock it and play it just yet. You could get a Bluetooth mouse, and while you're even holding it, maybe put the pad right beside you, and you could have one hand that's holding and using the stick over here, and then actually have the mouse right beside you, and you could still use, because of the Bluetooth connection. So
Yeah.
the system will allow you to kind of mix and match how you want to control it. I think, to me, the headline here is customization, which is something that we've
Yeah.
never really had with a handheld device like this.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they give us more options, because you're not the only one who's saying the control layout is a little wonky.
This is it is hilarious though. I do appreciate how just kind of like open it seems, just like from all angles. It's like the complete antithesis of Nintendo. Like just like polar opposites. Like Nintendo over there, just like this is the Nintendo Switch Pro. Like this is what the Switch Pro should have been, and then
because
we just got
you can buy the
slightly better screen.
64 gig storage one, which isn't that what the OLED's going to have 64 gigs of storage now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Switch OLED is $350. Will have 64 gigs of storage, but is still at least 4 times slower in processing power, and probably the equivalent of that in, graphical power too, than this thing. This thing at the lowest level, same storage, but it's $50 more and has insane more power. And now you also have access to the full Steam library of games. You don't have Nintendo. That's a big deal. One of the big draws for the Nintendo consoles is you have those awesome Nintendo IPs. But if I'm looking at this holiday and I already have a Switch, which is a situation that I'm in, and yeah, I already have a PC as well. But if I'm going to buy a new handheld device for treat myself for this winter, I have no interest in the OLED and a ton of interest in this Steam Deck, for no other reason than now I can, all these games that usually I'd have to kind of come back to my desk, which I work from home, so I have to come back to where I work to play a game, which sometimes I want to do, and sometimes I'd rather go sit on my couch or lay in my bed. And so, dude, this is so appealing to me. Like I can't describe, unless they fumble this. If everything that they've described so far delivers, even just accessing my Steam library, let's say that they make no deals with Microsoft or Sony and there's no kind of Epic Games access, nothing crazy happens, just using the Steam OS sounds so fun to me. It sounds so worth it. So they do have a $400 version, which is 64 gigs. They're saying these are all variations on an SSD drive or an SSD. So you'll have relatively fast loading times, but it goes up to a higher speed SSD at the $530 range, which is also 256 gigs of storage. So your storage will load faster, both your downloads, uploads, as well as just switching from game to game. It's going to move a little bit quicker on that one. And then your highest end is actually a true high-speed SSD. Derek was right. It is going to move much quicker, and that's for 650 and gives you 512 gigabytes of storage space. And that's before you buy a micro SD card to give yourself a bunch more, which, by the way, they do say games will load right from that. So if you buy yourself another 512 micro SD card, now you've got a terabyte of storage on this thing.
No proprietary memory, Sony.
Yeah, good job. Yeah.
I think outside of the Xbox One launch, that might have been one of the worst video game industry.
Yeah, that memory card thing really just totally just kicked them right in the nuts. Right in the nuts.
Well, it's up there with that, as well as with Nintendo sticking with cartridges for that N64, with the way that they ditched Sony for Panasonic or whatever that was.
We would have been on a different timeline, Tim, with Final Fantasies. Who knows what would have happened.
Very, very different. Very, very different.
Yeah.
Last thing, and kind of a negative too, if you're really into playing online focused game, multiplayer focused games like Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, PUBG, and Destiny 2, they listed those as some examples of games that will not be compatible. At least they don't think so right away. So
I wonder why.
The OS that Valve built on Linux, it's called Proton, and it is built with these certain software requirements to help with anti-cheating on certain multiplayer games. And so you have to have certain elements of that software that's ready to use. And apparently it's not ready to use with the Steam, with those games with this particular Steam OS. So I don't know all the details, but it sounds like they're working on it. Like that's kind of the official statement, is we want to make every single game playable on here. For right now, there's some limitations. We might not be able to launch with certain multiplayer games running on it just yet. So that's none of those games affect me, but really big into multiplayer centric games, you might want to at least look
Well,
that list up before you make a big
yeah.
purchase.
I mean, again, like I would think if like 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 a 13-year-old or even younger who's super into Fortnite sees this and they're like, I could sit in my bed, just lay down and play Fortnite. So
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then that's that's
you can play that on Switch already.
I'm telling you, if
it's gonna look better on this though.
If they make that relationship with like EA or something, and they get Old Republic MMO on this thing running, like I'm telling you that this gets more important for me by the second you start doing stuff like that.
Well,
so.
And according to Valve, if each of these publishers and developers will take the anti-cheating stuff into their own hands and build it on their side, they don't have to worry about it on the OS side. So like if these companies will take that on, like if Ubisoft handles that on Rainbow Six Siege in a stronger way, then Valve doesn't have to worry about it. It's not a requirement through Steam anymore. So it's a little bit of both. We'll see what happens there. That doesn't affect me, but if you're listening and that was your thing, you're like, I am gonna buy this because I'm gonna play PUBG on my couch in a handheld mode all the time. I'm like, well, okay, slow down, double check that's actually doable first. But I'm very excited for this. So they did have reservations open. I wish that they would have said reservations open now, go, because I feel like giving people 24 hours, and maybe this is me just creating villains where they don't exist, I don't know, but I feel like that gave the folks who know how to program these bots and automate all these bots, I think it gave them too much time, because the moment they went live, they gave us 24 hours. The moment they went live, Steam's app as well as their website essentially crashed.
Yep.
So
obviously,
which on the one hand, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people interested. Okay. And Steam is notoriously finicky. When certain sales kick in and certain games release, they've had a history of something. So not the biggest shock in the world, but I was just super disappointed that that they didn't just say, all right, go now, or they're open in an hour. Like there's something to me about if you surprise the people who are just there to scalp and make a few extra $100, if you can surprise them enough where they can't plan ahead, maybe you'll have more success. That being said, I love the way they did this compared to Sony. I think we've talked about this on this show. Like, how should Microsoft and Sony have rolled out their new consoles? And I always said you should give preference to folks who are your existing customers. That's exactly what Steam did. So if you are an existing Steam member and you've made a purchase before June of 2021, that means that you're not a bot who just recently created an account. Then you are able for these first couple days to for $5 you can reserve kind of a pre-order notice. So basically you're on, if you pay $5, that $5 goes towards your machine, and then you'll get a notice, and then you'll have a certain amount of time after that notice to go and reserve yours. So they're going to send out waves of pre-order emails at some point this fall. So but so I was able to spend pretty much my whole lunch hour with my computer open clicking on continue while I was working and while I was doing stuff, and I kept doing it. I had eventually opened up the app as well, tried it on my phone.
Did it remind you of anything, or?
Oh yeah, it gave me gave me flashbacks, horrible flashbacks to my PS5 experience. But eventually it worked, and I do think Valve has a lot of fail safes in place if they feel like there's bots or scammers on the site. So if you spam a button, like for example, purchase over and over again, which I did as a purchaser trying to get it to go through, and I know the system's just kind of like, it's got this small little funnel and there's all these people and it's just letting people in this tiny rate. So I'm just figuring if I can keep hitting it, at some point I'll be one of those lucky who get into the funnel there. But all of a sudden it triggered this, I got flagged and it said, it looks like you've been trying to make a lot of purchases recently. Try again in a while. And then I eventually on their support page, I found that purchase was on hold for me for 72 hours. And 72 hours I could try again. And I was like, so my advantage of being a Steam customer just disappeared, because it's open for everybody. So I was pretty frustrated, but everything I was looking at online just kept saying, ignore all those warnings, just keep clicking till you get through. Like they're not sticking to that. Like you're not actually have to wait for that long. So they were right. Eventually, I actually had to stop for a little while because I actually did have to do work. But I came back to it after a bit, and it was 3 hours after they launched it. Mine, all of a sudden, for no reason, just all of a sudden it went through, and it had gone halfway through like 7 times, and I put in my little, my credit card number thing at the end, like the little 3-digit code, security code, and I hit enter, and this would have been the 8th time it would have kicked me back out at that point, and all of a sudden it just said, "Thank you for your purchase." I was like, "What?"
Nice.
What? So it finally went through, which is really exciting. I couldn't even get the cheaper 2 added to my cart. So I just went, I hit add on the cheapest. It wouldn't do it, kept locking up. So I hit add on the middle one. That wouldn't do it. I hit add on the most expensive one. That did it. And I'm like, I think Valve did that to me on purpose. But
Yeah, pretty much. You know, these, I don't know, dude. I mean, again, we had the conversation where we even like, here are some suggestions. Not that these companies are listening to us, but it's just out of control.
Yep.
It truly is. Because like the other day, I was trying to buy Bill Burr tickets. I'm still so friggin' pissed about this. It was Ticketmaster, and I basically had the website up and everything where it had the timer counting down. It was like 3 hours, so that I was just working and waiting, and then it came time to buy the tickets. So then it started to load, but then it kind of basically was saying like, hey, you gotta wait, like you're in a queue, so to speak. It didn't actually say the word queue, but it was like basically like describing it like I was in a queue. And then when the stadium, the like picture of like the arena or whatever you want to call it, the room came up, I was like kind of just looking. I was like, all right, so where do I want seats? And I started clicking on seats. And then when I went to go like, to the next page, it was like, oh, somebody already snagged that. I was like, okay, that's weird. And then so I clicked on another one. Oh, somebody's already got. It's like, so I'm not actually in a queue at all. You said I was in a queue, which in my head, a queue is me being in a line.
Yep.
But no, people are just free for all, like just taking seats. So it's like, so basically people were just cutting me. That's like being at an amusement park and you being next to get on the ride and like 50 people just like bum rush you. And the guy who works there is just standing there smiling.
He's just
like,
shrugging
whatever,
like,
man.
yeah, I guess they
Whatever,
wanted it
man.
more. I guess they wanted it more than you did.
It's like, what's even the point then? What's the point, Tim? What's the point?
I was definitely feeling that frustration. I felt fantastic though when it did finally go through.
Well, I'm glad you felt fantastic, Tim. I don't get to see Bill Burr.
I am sorry about that.
How dare you?
That is a bummer. But,
I know it is.
So I'm excited for this. It's cool to have a new entry in the console world as well. And I guess it's not really console, but it kind of is. It's a nice hybrid. I like it. I'm excited for this.
I think it's very cool. It might. I mean, I highly doubt it, but it might make Nintendo kind of maybe start thinking a little differently about some things. Yeah,
it was interesting. I saw what I thought was really dumb with the IGN coverage of it. They had they have a podcast that I forget what it's called. It's called Next Gen Consoles. It's kind of similar to our podcast name, but anyway,
Copycats.
The title of it was "Should PlayStation Be Worried About Steam Deck?" And I wanted to be like, who cares about that? Like Nintendo should be worried about.
Yeah, right.
But I guess their thought was Nintendo's already super popular, and their own IP is what drives the Switch. Xbox now potentially could have their foot in the door with portability. If they can make things work here. So I guess the whole point was, now what does Sony do? Like, do they rethink the decision to dump the Vita, or do they try to team up with these guys or with someone else?
I think teaming up would just be the most simple way to do it, and just try to work out a deal where, everybody's making their money and not be obnoxious suits about it. You know what I mean? But
I agree. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, I'm excited for that. We'll be talking more about that as we get closer to that date. And I do believe, by the way, that those reservations will continue to go live. I think on Sunday, there's another wave of them going open for folks who haven't made a Steam purchase recently. So like new accounts can also place orders on Sunday, which I imagine will also crash their site, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Probably.
Probably even worse. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, let's wrap things up with stuff that we are currently playing or watching. Which one of you said Mission Impossible Fallout? Who said this?
Yeah. So I finished Scarlet Nexus, which I didn't even bring up on the last episode because we had a ton to talk about.
Hey, can we talk about our buddy Thomas, by the way?
Wow, what a
dude! So just like,
what a roller coaster
if you're listening
ride.
and you don't know Thomas is in our Facebook group, and Thomas is like one of the friendliest, most positive people in our group, and he loves almost everything he watches and almost everything he plays, until he played Scarlet Nexus. And
to be
he
fair,
does not like this game.
He gave it a 5 out of 10, so it's not like a 2 or a 1 or a 0. He gave it, halfway points. So.
Well, he started out kind of liking it, and then the game just wore him down.
Yeah.
And
so I definitely get what he's coming how he's coming at it. Like, yeah, it's. I mean, somehow I had like I think an extra 10 to 13 more hours in my playthrough than he did. I don't know if he like skipped some stuff that I ended up doing, but I was close to about 40 hours, and that's just one side of the story. So I was not going to play another 40 hours of that game. It's just 40 was enough. And to be honest, even 40 was too much. I feel like that game, the sweet spot for that game overall should have been somewhere between 20 to 30 hours. I think that would have been the nice so
it overstayed its welcome.
It did. And a lot of it was just the dungeons. Some of the dungeons are definitely a little too long. As you get later on into the game, I think if they kept them a bit on the shorter side, then that would have shaved some time, and it just would have felt less, sluggish and like you were kind of trotting through. So, but yeah, so it wasn't a terrible game, but I can see where he has his faults with the game, and I think it makes sense. So I
know that Derek was especially high on it when we first did our impressions of it. I don't think you were quite as high, but you were really liking it a lot.
Yeah.
Did it kind of, by the end of it, is it a little bit lower in your kind of immediate rankings of stuff?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a fun game if you like just anime in general, the style of anime, the way stories are told through anime, the types of characters that you find in anime. If in any way, shape, or form you like it, you're okay with that. It doesn't bother you. Like apparently it was bothering Thomas. He was just like, oh, the tropes, man, the tropes. I can't deal with these tropes. Like if you don't mind that kind of stuff, then this could be for you. But then again, it is very long.
I mean, I don't mind it, but like for a movie or a short game, if you're talking about like a 40-hour game, I might be in the same boat with him going like, oh, how much longer is this game?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's depends on your preference and what you like. I think just really it is definitely just a bit too long, and I think making you play as both the male and female characters seems a little unnecessary. Maybe they could have swapped the story back and forth, like actually have that sort of force that to happen, and that's how they tell the story.
Like, shoot, what was that game that kept winning story last year? I played a little bit of it. It was another anime one, strategy one. Shoot, I'm blanking out what it's called.
A strategy one?
Yeah, I'll look it up. Anyway, but there are games that have done that well when they've handled multiple characters where you control them and there's multiple storylines, and you can do that without forcing folks to completely replay.
But basically, that was my long-winded way of getting around to Mission Impossible. So whenever I finish long games recently, I just then kind of need a palate cleanser. I usually play kind of like quick games. Like I've been playing Call of Duty actually, but I've been watching a bunch of movies. I didn't watch the last Mission Impossible before Fallout, which was I believe Rogue Nation, but I watched the one before that, which was Ghost Protocol. I remember really liking Ghost Protocol. But Huber on Easy Allies was like praising the hell out of Fallout.
It's good.
Yeah, and it was excellent. Dude, it is a 2.5 hour long movie. I don't think I was bored for a second. Like not even a single second.
That's the one with Cavill, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good one.
And there's some stuff later on that I was like, oh, I was actually shocked. I was like, I didn't see that coming. I was like, I was actually genuinely surprised. I was like, oh, okay. That's really cool. So like, those movies can still surprise you. I mean, I think it's 6. Mission Impossible Fallout is the 6th movie in the series. So
that sounds right. Yeah, there's Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3. Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. Fallout.
Yeah, so Fallout would be the 6th movie, and he's working on 7. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a fun movie for sure.
Yeah.
And then
which I think 2 was probably the weakest. I'm always a sucker for the original. I did love the original, but I think 3 might be my favorite still, with Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain.
Yeah.
And it might have the best opening sequence ever, where it's them both taped to a chair with his wife there too. Do you remember this opening scene?
Yep.
And it's so intense. Like I remember watching it in theaters, going like, "Dude, they didn't give me a second. They didn't like do a slow pan of the city where you show him on a mission. Like he's already in a horrible position."
And same at the end. Same at the end of the movie. Horrible position too at the end of the movie. So
and pour one out for Philip Seymour Hoffman. That guy was amazing.
Yeah,
he was good in that movie.
He was such an excellent actor. It's such a shame.
By the way, the video game I was thinking of was 13 Sentinels. I don't know why I couldn't think of it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
So
just
that
haven't
one-
played that yet, but yes.
That one had multiple storylines with multiple characters going
Yeah.
on, and I mean there is kind
Time
of a central
travel
character, but yeah, all
stuff.
kinds of stuff happening.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about you? Anything that you're watching or playing?
I mean, I'm still just playing ESO, and I don't want to talk about that because it's boring to talk about an MMO. I'm like, oh,
No,
like there's missions and quests.
Well, real quick, I did buy it on sale. It was like $8.
Yeah.
To get it, and I know that they've
Nice.
got like isn't there some kind of paid subscription where you get access to much more stuff, but you don't have.
Yeah. You can pay $14 a month and get everything.
Okay.
Like you're not locked out of anything.
But you can play the basic game and get a lot out of it.
Just like 1,000 hours, like in just the basic game.
Without
Sounds like 14.
Yeah,
That's
it
like
is just like 14. I would say.
Well,
it's
actually,
just,
it reminds me a lot
heavy.
too of Star Wars: The Old Republic, where now that's free to play, and you can actually get through pretty much all the base stories without too much trouble. You can't experience all of the high level missions and like group stuff necessarily, like some of the raids you're locked out of, but you can do a lot in that game for free.
And you get a lot for like subscribing to ESO. Like you get like infinite pocket space or not pocket space, like bank space and crafting bag and crowns to buy more stuff with every month or whatever. So
I didn't
I
didn't play it a lot yet, but I tried it a little bit. I was just curious, like, is this one of those things where you just have a whole hotbar and you're just hitting numbers and kind of waiting for those to reset? And it's way more action oriented than I thought.
Big time. Yep.
Closer to something like Black Desert, which I also tried briefly. Although Black Desert is much more flashy with its like action stuff, lots of like spinning attacks. It's a little bit more martial artsy, but I didn't like it. I don't think Black Desert played that great. ESO actually plays pretty well. I thought it was pretty.
That's what I was curious about. Like, is it similar to just the traditional Elder Scrolls?
It feels like that with some hot action keys.
It does have some of the hotbar stuff.
Okay.
But you're still like putting your shield up and slicing your sword and like you're still like you're there, you're doing it, and they even have like a dodge button, so if like the cone of damage comes up from an enemy, you can dodge out of that cone. And it's pretty active, I'd say.
And switch between third and first person view.
You can do all that. Yep.
Okay.
You start in first, and then you can right away you can zoom out if you want to go third person. You know what's interesting is I've played a lot of MMOs over the years. And the ones that usually hook me in the early levels are the ones that don't overwhelm you with too many options at the beginning. Just kind of give me a few basic choices and let me get into the game and try it.
Yeah.
And playing something like Black Desert, they had so many different combinations of what race or species you want to be and so many classes. It reminded me a little bit of this MMO from a while back called Rift, where they had so many classes to choose from. Now, some people love that. They're like, I love that. They have all these meticulous breakdowns and combos of classes. And just the character creation screen took a couple hours. It was crazy. And so, but with ESO, I felt like at least it was a much simpler process of like, there's not a ton to choose from right out of the gate. I assume there's specializations later, but like it kind of gives you a very simple set of things to choose at the
Someone
beginning.
called ESO a casual MMO, and that's the most accurate. Like it's like super easy to jump in and play, and like you can not play for a year, and new content comes out, and just jump right back in because everything scales to your level. Like nothing's encouraging you to like make it your life, you know. So even though it is my life right now, but like nothing's like forcing it to where it's just like, well, I gotta grind to catch up with my people. Like I'm playing with my friend who's like level 5, I'm level 50, and like we are doing the same stuff right now. Like it's not you're never blocked out from doing anything with your buddies or anything. So
yeah.
Well, if 14, it tells you Go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say 14 does the same, but like you kind of have to pay into some of that. Like if you want to like jump ahead, like all the way fully like leveled, like you do have to pay a little bit extra money to do so. But like you can basically just do that if you want to just jump in and play with friends. Like
that's cool.
And skip a whole bunch of like the story. Like if you don't care about a lot of the story and you just want to go play the new expansion when it comes out, and you're like, I want a max level character. Like you pay a little extra to do that, but you can do that. And
that's pretty cool. I like that.
I think the convenience of that is cool. So
yeah. WoW did some of that when they put out the Dark. It was the Dark Knight class that came with, I forget the name of the DLC, where you could just roll a new character that starts at level 55, I think it was.
Yeah.
So they allowed you to just jump right into the new content if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think later on they even had a special item where you could level up one character one time all the way to a certain level and stuff like that. Anyway, but if it tells you anything, I started Black Desert, played it for a little bit, got a good feel for it, wasn't digging it, just the overall vibe. Even interacting with other characters and accepting quests was really convoluted. I did not like even the interface. So that one's already uninstalled. If that tells you anything. ESO I played around with for a while. I did some of the opening tutorial missions, and I was just like, this is pretty cool. So that one's still installed, and I'll probably keep playing around with it. So there you go. And
the story's very good. I think the story's awesome. So if you just play it just for the quests, like it's a lot of fun.
That's why I was asking in that thread a little while back, like, hey, can I do this solo? And just like every MMO, it sounds like you can, like most MMOs, you can solo most of the main quests, and then
the main quest, in fact, of the vanilla game, you have to solo.
Like,
it'll put you into instance missions that are like you're just there existing by yourself. So it's like,
gotcha.
Very, very, very user friendly. This game.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Yeah. I want to talk real quick about my Mass Effect journey, guys. I want to tell you my story. I want to speak my truth. Okay.
Sure.
So Mass Effect is a series that I've been avoiding for a long time, and I don't have a good reason for it outside of once you kind of miss the boat and the game was a little bit dated and everyone's already played it. There's something about that sometimes can make me kind of go like, I don't know if I want to. Like I
feel that, sure.
That's kind of where I am with Dragon Age Inquisition. And I know that when I play it, I'll be so mad it took me forever. And I'll have to admit that Derek and Dan were right. And I should have played this game a long time ago.
I mean, it's better than Mass Effect for sure.
Slow your roll. I think it's one of the best like Western RPGs of all time, but slow your roll. Chill out a little bit.
I mean,
so I played through the first...
I'm right, Kyle. You know I'm...
So this was my third time trying to start Mass Effect 1. This is about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And the first two times I got a decent way into it, and it would hit a certain wall in the game where I'm just like, this gameplay is just not fun. I just don't like this. And so I would just give up on it. Not intentionally, like I'm never playing it, but I would play something else and then just never go back to it. So this time I tried it. The gameplay is a little better. I think, Kyle, you've talked about that, how there's some improvements to the gameplay, and I agree with you. But I just kind of accepted the fact that, hey, this is a mediocre third-person cover-based shooter with an amazing story and characters and world. So just get through the gameplay parts. And if you find a way to cheese it, or if there's at least one weapon you like, just stick to that. And then just do your best to, get through those parts because the rest of it's so good. And it is so good. The payoff for the story is amazing. I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. And there's, even in the first game, I wasn't expecting some pretty major choices you have to make. I wasn't really, for some reason in my head, I hadn't connected that. I always saw from what I had heard from the outside, 2 is where if you don't do things right, you could lose some, if not a ton, of your characters.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't expecting it in 1. In 1, there's a major choice you have to make that I was like, oh man, this is kind of intense.
Yeah.
And then there's also a confrontation on a beach with a character where things could go really poorly there as well. So I really enjoyed 1. I thought it was excellent, and I had a blast with it, even though the gameplay, like I said, wasn't my favorite. I started up 2. I'm probably 5 or 6 hours into 2. This game came out 11 years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
This game is like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This game is so freaking good. And even though the combat isn't perfect, it is so much more improved over 1. Like, yeah. and I say not perfect. I think at the time it probably was virtually perfect. We just know that now BioWare themselves and others have made so many improvements to how combat systems can work, the mixture of action and RPG. That being said, I mean, it's so well done. And the character, I mean, by the way, the visual touch-ups, this game looks like a modern game, like the lighting and the character textures. Like, I don't know if 2 always looked this pretty. I doubt it. It looks amazing.
Yeah, no, it definitely improved from its legendary upgrade for sure.
Yeah, really, really good. So, and I'm having a blast with it. I'm excited. I mean, at the very beginning, there's a bunch of dramatic stuff that happens at the beginning, some stuff that, unfortunately, I already kind of knew this, because over the years, the story's been mildly spoiled for me here and there. So I kind of knew the setup, but the setup is very intriguing, and a little bit of a time jump and stuff. It's just very, very cool. And then they kind of open up the game for you. And you can start traveling around and exploring and doing whatever. And I love it. It's so good. It's so good. So I'm excited to keep playing.
Strap in. It's a hell of a game, man. That second one is just what a journey. I
have a feeling it's all I'm going to be playing like the next month or 2. Like,
yeah.
It's always cool to find like these older games. Not that like Mass Effect is super, super old, but like, the past couple generations, just something that you missed, and there's 3 of them. So like that's just so much to explore and experience. And you're like, wow, this was like something that I just completely missed. And it's like, it's super awesome. Like, I just think
like you said, like
fun.
Whenever you miss the relevancy of its release and stuff like that, it kind of feels daunting to get into it. Well, now a lot of people are getting a chance to feel the relevancy of this game again. You know, a lot of people are experiencing it for the first time or re-experiencing it. It's in the zeitgeist now. We're all talking about it again. So if you've missed it the first time, it's not too late. You can jump in now and have a lot of great conversations about this game now.
And so 1 had a pretty good cast, but 2 has a powerhouse cast of voice actors in it. Like if you look up the names that are attached to Mass Effect 2, you can tell Mass Effect 1 was such a hit that 2 clearly had a budget boost, like a huge budget boost, not only in the gameplay and the visuals and all, I mean, the production value, set pieces are right out of the gate. Like, whoa, they're going there with the second one. This is crazy. Yeah. And then I started recognizing voices and even in some cases faces right away. I was like, that looks and sounds like so-and-so. And I looked it up on IMDb and like, for example, one of the key characters in 2, I'm blanking on her name already. Is it Miranda? Miranda. Right away, I was like, she looks like the girl from Chuck.
That's Chuck's girlfriend.
And she sounds like her too. So I looked it up, and it's Yvonne Strahovski, however you say her name. It's totally her, and her face kind of looks like her too. So anyway,
that's funny.
I digress. I freaking love it. That's like all I'm playing right now. That's why ESO. I fired it up. I tried it. I was like, this is cool. I'm gonna leave it installed. You know, so whenever I come back to play on my PC, because I'm playing the Mass Effect games on my Xbox One X. Looks and runs great on that, by the way. I know it would look even better on a PC or a next-gen console, but Derek bought it there. I have free access to it. Figured I'd give it a try, and it looks great. Runs great. So, there you go. All right, well, we are over an hour and a half. Is there anything else that either one of you are playing or watching that you want to throw out there before we wrap things up?
I just want to throw out there that even though I'm not a Call of Duty bro, I am, because they were both on PlayStation Plus. Actually, Black Ops 4 was just put on PlayStation Plus, and then Modern Warfare Remastered was a while ago. And just for a while, I definitely was one of those people that's like, you know, Call of Duty, the way it plays, like has always been good. It hasn't changed that much. Well, I was definitely wrong, because even the remaster, which clearly they kind of wanted to make it feel like that old, you know, kind of older, you know, the original Modern Warfare is like, I mean, when did that even come out? Like 2004? 2006? Okay, so a while ago.
2006, yeah, that's right.
And yeah, it's like night and day, dude. Like the way that these newer Call of Duties control and the way that they move is just so much nicer compared to even sliding. Like sliding
2007.
Oh, wow,
okay. There's no sliding in the original Modern Warfare.
Right.
So, like, even just that adds something to the gameplay when you're running around and taking corners and zipping around, like with these newer Call of Duties. Just something as simple as sliding.
Are you doing mostly multiplayer? Or are you doing the campaign?
So there's no so I already uninstalled Modern Warfare because I was like, I just don't like the way that this feels. It feels.
Dude, the campaign for the new Modern Warfare is fantastic.
It is really good.
It was.
Yeah, the campaign.
Admittedly, yeah, that new Modern Warfare, I did really like the story, and I actually played the multiplayer for quite a while. But Black Ops 4, there's no campaign. That was the one that was just online. They had the Battle Royale mode, which I haven't even touched yet.
Isn't Black Ops 4 on PlayStation Plus right now?
Right. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was just like, you know what? I finished Scarlet Nexus. I'm watching a bunch of movies. This is just the game that I'm kind of hopping in and out of while a couple of other things, because Chris Tales comes out next week, so I'm looking forward to that. So
okay, so this is your COD summer. This is your hot girl summer.
Yeah, this is my couple of weeks of being all up inside Blops 4. I'm all up inside those Blops.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
All right, well, good. Well, thank you guys for taking time to chat tonight. We'll see. Hopefully, Valve can deliver on this Steam Deck console. We'll see what happens there. And also, I am glad that there's not some major game coming out anytime soon for me. I know for some folks like Chris Tales, there's other games coming out folks are excited about. Other than games that I'm curious about, like Tribes of Midgard, I'm curious about, comes out in a couple weeks. But the
cheap too, budget game, $20.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. But that allows me to really just dig into the Mass Effect trilogy in a way that I just hadn't before. I had only very briefly tried the combat of 2 that someone else is playing. I was like, yeah, this is better, but I don't know if I got to play all of 1, and I don't like playing 1, so I probably will never play these games. That was like the mindset. So I'm so glad that they improved it, and I was able to make it through 1. And I say make it through, I ended up really liking that game. Like, I kind of like let go of the stuff that I was criticizing about the combat, because the story was so good. Like I don't have negative thoughts about that game other than, the combat feels dated. That's what it feels like. But man, oof, I'm a fan of the series right now. I'm totally digging it. But
let it wash over you.
It is. It's washing right now. Actually, as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna go play some more. So
Nice. Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you too for staying up late and chatting. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you, Gabe Newell, for that steamy dick.